health institutions in the country says they are putting all necessary measures in place to support the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital following the flood devastation that destroyed some of its facilities. They disclosed this during an assessment visit to the hospital in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital. TVC's senior reporter Jesse Tafida reports.
Floodwaters from Alo Dam destroyed most parts of Borno state. The University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital is among facilities that was ravaged by the waters. But as water recedes, the hospital has become operational to respond to the healthcare needs of people across the state. Today, the Committee of Chief Medical Directors of Tertiary Health Institutions are here to commiserate with the management of the hospital over the incident. They say the damage caused by the flood is a setback in healthcare service delivery, especially to population of the Northeast region.
Because practically almost every aspect of this hospital we've been to has been touched by the flood water. And in fact, some into the fabrics of the engines of machines that are supposed to be used in taking care of the patients. And that is quite unfortunate. Even records that were kept in different units were damaged. We do hope that as soon as the companies that manufactured these machines come here, maybe in the next couple of days, we should be able to know to what level this damage has gone.
The University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital is known for treatment and management of various degrees of ailments, and its impact is largely felt across and beyond. The committee's visit was an opportunity for the UMTH management to express gratitude for the donation.
Patients, they are the first priority in any disaster or crisis situation. So the first thing when we notice is inevitable, the water is coming into the hospital. So the first thing we did was to move all the patients from ground floor to the first floor, which is higher. And I think that's what saved most of the patients, especially the most vulnerable.
Some departments that were severely affected by the floods include the Physical Rehabilitation Center, the Radiology Department, Kidney Center, Molecular Laboratory, and Cancer Center. Jesse Tafida, TVC News, Maiduguri.
Away from flood reports to security, the Nigerian Army Resource Center has begun training for senior officials of the EFCC. The center is optimistic that the training will strengthen the fight against economic crime and terrorism financing. And Sifon Essien reports.
It's the start of an executive leadership and strategic management course for senior officials of the EFCC. The goal is to reposition the anti-corruption agency to tackle economic crime and terrorism financing as part of the federal government's effort to combat insecurity.
For the tasks ahead, they need strategic leadership so that they can help in directing, coordinating, and putting things right for the operations they want to carry out, so that will help us, to achieve our common mandate.
For the Director General of the Nigerian Army Resource Center, the task goes beyond acquiring knowledge.
Our task is very simple. That's challenging them, not just to pick knowledge, but to apply whatever knowledge they've been able to pick from here when they get to their various offices. Because it's one thing to learn, it's another thing to apply it. It's not that we don't have knowledgeable people in Nigeria. It's not that we don't know our problems, but the application of the solution or the methods or the options available to us is the major issue. And at the strategic level, you solve a problem to create another problem.
Recently, the center has played a significant role in bolstering the federal government's efforts to curb terrorism financing. Sifon Essien, TVC News, Abuja.
Well, staying on security, a member of the House of Representatives from Ondo State, Festus Adefrinoye, has called for involvement of traditional rulers, community leaders, and retired security officers in the fight against insecurity in the country. Mr. Adefrinoye spoke at a security summit held in Okegbo, Ileoluji, Okegbo local government area of the state. And senior reporter Yodiji Moradi reports.
It is popularly said that security is everybody's business. The caliber of people here explains the importance of this summit, organized for traditional rulers who are regarded as the custodians of the culture and tradition of their people. The hall in Okegbo was filled with security personnel, politicians, opinion leaders, among others, who gathered to brainstorm on the need to provide adequate security for the people.
This training aims to build upon.
The member of House of Representatives representing Ile-Oluji Okegbo Federal Constituency, who facilitated the summit, said traditional rulers must be given critical roles to fight against insecurity. The guest lecturer also gave his own perspective on the matter.
This training aims to build upon the already mass knowledge and wisdom to provide you with the tools and modern practice needed to address security menace effectively. We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives.
Once a stranger is coming within a neighborhood, he must abide by the law of that neighborhood. So it is wrong application of that measure that would lead to violation of human rights. But once it is well coordinated with good understanding, I'm sure it is going to serve the purpose for which it is.
The federal lawmaker said the fight against insecurity should not be left in the hands of the government alone.
We have a very good security, we have secure environment. Our farmers will be able to go to the farm and farm. There will be food security. There will be people will be able to sleep.
Some traditional rulers also preferred solutions to the high level of insecurity across the country.
The government refused to recognize the importance of traditional rulers. And I think there should be synergy between the traditional ruler and the government.
Synchronizing your energy with the locals, especially the traditional rulers. And I tell you, security of lives and properties within a particular area will be solved.
They all agreed that proper funding of security agencies will go a long way in tackling insecurity across the country. Ayodeji Moradeyo, TVC News, Okegbo.
And still to come on the news at 7, Governor Moeno appreciates God for the progress and landmark achievements of Akwa Ibom State as it celebrates 37th anniversary. We'll have details of this and more when TVC News returns. Stay with us.
And cable, great quality, now with the new look.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move weigh in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty, erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Thanks for staying with us on the news at 7. A reminder of our top stories. Federal Executive Council sets up technical committee to review all existing dams in Nigeria, approves disaster relief fund for quick response to victims. Committee of Chief Medical Directors promises to support University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital after flood destroyed some facilities. And outside Nigeria, Israeli airstrikes kill 274 with several persons injured in Lebanon as thousands flee southern part of the country. And in sports, Nigeria's under-19 women's team upset favourites Zimbabwe with a hard-fought one-wicket victory in World Cup qualifiers. Right, let's just turn our attention now to the just concluded election in Edo State. A civil society organization, that's the Committee for the Protection of People's Mandate, has described the recently concluded governorship election and announcement of the result as a reflection of the will of the people. That's according to press release by the executive director of the group, Nelson Ekujumi. The group commended INEC for its professionalism during the election. The group noted that based on its observation and monitoring of reports from the field on the day of election, its findings revealed that INEC staff deployed for the exercise exhibited a high level of understanding of their functions and equipment for accreditation. The CPPM also commended the people of Edo State for coming out to cast their vote freely on election day. Professor Kayode Iswola, political scientist, Institute of African and Diaspora Studies, joins me on the news for the outcome of the Edo State election. Good to have you join us.
Yeah, good evening, Nigerians, and you.
Well, let me state that he will be speaking to us via phone. Different reports from different civil society groups. First of all, Yaga Africa has, given its own verdict on this election. Now it's the CPPM, but, both of them are contrary to each other. What do you make of the conduct of the election as well as the outcome of that election as well?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I was not there in the field of the election. So I'm primarily relying on secondary information. One from the media, two from this independent observers, and three from other sources, including person-to-person information. As you rightly said, there are conflicting reports, and it may be too early to have a public conclusion. The election is indeed and in truth marred with irregularity, or indeed and in truth the election was conducted in a free and fair way. However, there have been allegations of logistic issues, allegations of vote buying, allegations of election materials being manipulated in terms of distribution, in terms of figure, in terms of all sorts of things. And of course, logistics about arrival of materials, all this. We have had this allegation from several sources, including the media themselves. What this implies in the general sense, especially coupled with the low voters turnout of less than 40% registered voters, what it implies in all is that it does not seem that we have made significant improvement in the conduct of the election. When I say we, I refer to all of us as a nation, but in particular, INEC as an institution. I mean, what one person or the entire Nigerian people will look forward to is a situation in which elections like this will be conducted. And everybody, because of the clarity, because of the obvious nature of the winning and the majority of the people will say, well, it is done. Let us go back to the drawing board. Winner will take it in.
And Professor Iswola, sorry to jump in. Because of the limited time I have, I want to talk about two things. First, the conduct and the outcome, which we have already talked about. But it is not just the civil society organizations that are speaking. The political parties are speaking as well. What do you think decided the outcome that we are seeing now of this election?
Well, the outcome of it was a lot of issues, you know. On the part of the PPP, you will say, and this is just pure analysis, it was a case of very poor preparation for the election. From what we can see, I mean, we're not spirit. For instance, the candidates and the sponsor, as well as the incumbent, were all fighting wars on all fronts. Wiki factor, the former deputy governor, and then the individual actors like Dan Obi, Aslem Musezwa, Kabiru Ajoto, as well as, which for me is more important, the conflict with Oba of Benin, which in a way was avoidable. When you want to run an election and you have all these strategic enemies or opponents against you in strategic places, you will have that feeling that you are not preparing very well. Coupled with the fact that we had cases of, members of the Edo State Assembly who, for political reasons, were not sworn in until a particular time, and the judges who had been confirmed by the edges, who the administration refused to swear in. When you have all this messed up situation around you in an election time, because it speaks to nothing but bad strategy on the part of the candidate. For me, these factors put into detailed analysis what the result that we have today. Because whether or not the votes were properly counted, voting was properly administered, you still need majority on your side to be able to win clearly, or manipulate if you want to manipulate, or even rig if you want to rig. So politics, especially electoral politics, especially again, psychology when it comes to voters' behavior, is a matter of how many people you have
on your side. All right.
If that factor is not taken into consideration, then you will have a poor preparation.
Thank you so much, Professor Kayode as well. Always a pleasure to have you on Political Scientist, Institute of African and Diaspora Studies.
All right, thank you. Have a nice day.
Now to other stories. As part of efforts to enhance e-learning across Nigeria, tech experts have introduced more education-friendly mobile classroom applications to tertiary institutions. Now, this initiative, which was initially designed for secondary schools, now aims to provide university students with enhanced learning resources and tools. Senior correspondent Sharon Jason brings us details in this report.
In an era of digital transformation, technology continues to reshape education, offering students and educators new ways to interact and share knowledge. The founder of a mobile classroom app stressed the need for more students and lecturers to embrace learning through the use of education applications.
Our students are going all over there and they are shining, they are saying they are the best. The foundation is what really matters. We got the foundation from here. So, but our lecturers do not have that platform where the international community could have experienced the substance they are actually made up of. So with this class by class, it allows lecturers anywhere to set up your own class. When you set it up, it's at no cost. Then you begin to create content material, video, audio, put it up there on different topics. Then you allow and avail your learners all over the world to have repeated access to your topics. You can have students in Ghana, in Kenya, that will now be consuming content from lecturers in Nigeria. You can have students of medicine in Unilag that will not be consuming where he or she has issue, consume that lecturer from the lecturer from Union Learning. We must not be restricted, we must be flexible. We must actually look at this opportunity by way of impacting the student and at the same time also trying to grow their well-being so that they won't be saying technology has come to empower you financially and also showcase you to the world.
Winners of the National Virtual Test shared their experience on digitalization and how it can affect learning.
Online test I do, there's always an issue, like is it that it logs me out? There's always something. I probably retake the test once or twice. But this mobile classroom was very soft actually. There was no internet obstruction as it were. Like just go and I was amazed. Yes. I didn't have to worry about going to test or something.
As for the
lectures. It was educative, and at the same time, the lecturer made use of examples which made it easier to learn.
Education experts believe that virtual learning experience continues to demonstrate the huge potential of technology in education to motivate and reward brilliance among students. Sharon Jackson, TVC News.
And to Akwa Ibom State, where Governor Umo Eno has warned sellers of petrol in the state against selling above the approved pump price. He gave the warning during a statewide broadcast on the 37th anniversary of the state. The governor thanked God for the progress and achievements of the state throughout the years. He also praised the efforts of past leaders towards the greatness of the state from its creation. He thanked Akwa Ibom people for their steadfast support to for his administration and promised unflinching commitment to improving the lives of residents.
7 years after the creation of this great state, God has been the unseen anchor that has navigated and propelled the paths of our development. Today, from a rural backwater state at creation, with a provincial capital and Spartan infrastructure, God has raised our profile to being seen as a shining city on the hill. As we celebrate our anniversary, permit me to thank our dear President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR for being a father to all, for operating his administration without recourse to rigid partisanship. I am proud to state that nearly 1.5 years since we came in, the fundamentals of our growth are rock solid.
Now, Governor of Cross River State, Bassey Otu, has launched a continuously operating reference stations to enhance geospatial management. This technology, according to the governor, will boost economic growth through accurate mapping, surveying, and attract investors into the state. Tina Kweke tells us more.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Governor too, represented at the inauguration by his deputy Peter Ode, says the present administration's initiative to have cores in Cross River State is a demonstration of his commitment to leveraging technology for sustainable development. He says efficient urban planning and infrastructure development would benefit residents and improve public services.
We believe very strongly that if we have this equipment long ago, Cross River State will not suffer what we did a couple of years ago when part of our land were given to neighboring states.
In his opening address, the State Surveyor General, Patrick Bassey, commends the governor for his determination towards accurate, reliable and precise geospatial data. He adds that the initiative would benefit the state as it enables precise positioning, reduce errors in surveying and mapping.
Will agree with me that survey is a bedrock for meaningful development. But we thought it wise to curb the menace of litigations, land disputes, as relates to property surveys, issuance of certificate of occupancies. We thought of this, that we need a precise data for land administration.
The chairman of the state chapter of Nigerian Institute of Surveyors, Emmanuel Arop, described the launch as a major milestone in Cross River State. Continuously operating reference stations are a network of global navigation satellite system receivers that provides continuous data for precise positioning and navigation. Tina Akweke, TVC News, Calabar.
Let's take a break now. We'll return with more stories shortly. Stay with us.
Voted as the best TV station of the year. TVC News breaks into the core of every event as they happen. Following all nationwide big and impactful stories. Without the news from every perspective. Covering every human angle. I am Veronica, bringing you the news you would want to watch.
Thanks for staying with us. The recent flag-off of the construction of the 41.4-kilometer Ohafia-Arochukwu Federal Road by Governor of Abia State, Alex Otti, has continued to generate reactions, with some groups faulting the governor's position on some claims on the road. Inena Gabriel reports.
The governor said in his speech that the road hasn't been constructed since the time of the late premier of the Eastern region, Michael Okpara. According to him, haphazard attempts were made by Abuja to undertake the reconstruction around 2012, but nothing significant happened.
What we have come today to do is to take our destiny in our hands, convinced that the federal government, whose approval we have fully obtained to execute this project, will eventually do what is right and fair in the long-term economic interest of the good people of Abia State.
This statement, among others by the state chief executive, elicited reactions from stakeholders who described the claims by the governor as incorrect.
That contract was awarded under Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. That road was not motorable. How you place such a call to somebody in 2017 and you have seen action steady on that road project. Now we are coming back to also give the impression to the world that that road was a desert, the whole place was a desert, nothing happened. I mean, government and at that level shouldn't function that way. When all of us, these are things we can see, feel, and touch and understand. So I want to also again say kudos to him.
The former lawmaker insists that the Abia State government is yet to meet the conditions precedent by the federal government for reconstructing the road, and as such, risk not getting a refund.
Abians deserve to know the truth.
Also, the coalition of Southeast youth leaders at a press conference say the field on the reconstruction of the road is not in the best interest of the state or the Igbos.
Senator Orji Uzokalo resurfaced the road in 2002 and 2003. So the governor should do the right thing by keeping the record straight. Efforts
to get the State Commissioner for Works, Otumchere Oti, for comments proved abortive as he was unavailable. Nina Gabriel, TVC News, Umahia, Abia State.
And to other stories, a non-governmental organization has called on African leaders to adopt more effective and proactive strategies to address the root causes of irregular migration. The Blacks Ancestral Native Communities Foundation is challenging African governments to enhance youth entrepreneurial skills and strengthen educational systems as long-term solutions. TVC News correspondent Joke Adisa reports.
With an estimated population of over 200 million people, Nigeria has the largest population in Africa and the 7th largest in the world. In 2020, United Nations findings showed that 0.6%, representing 1.3 million of the Nigerian population, are migrants. Migration has become a known phenomenon which has caused what is now popularly known as the Japa syndrome. High poverty levels, rising unemployment, and deplorable economies of most African countries are reasons for migration.
This is how great we are.
This non-governmental organization brings together stakeholders to find lasting solutions to irregular migration. It calls on countries with high rates of irregular migration to establish safer and more transparent migration pathways to protect individuals from exploitation, human trafficking, modern slavery, and in extreme cases, death.
In forging this active collaboration, we should all bear in mind that we are embarking on a journey to protect the rights, dignity, and well-being of migrants and to promote humane and sustainable solutions to this complex challenge.
The challenges of irregular migration are not insurmountable. The solutions lie in creating economic opportunities at home, increasing awareness about the dangers of irregular migration, and fostering a cross-border collaboration to protect the lives and dignity of migrants.
If you go to Somalia, the same.
Kenyan lawyer and activist Patrick Lumumba expresses regret that African countries have failed to make meaningful progress even decades after independence from colonialism.
First thing that we must do is to change our mindset. When we change our mindset, then we begin to do the right things.
For Bank, Star Care, which stands for sensitization, training, advocacy, rehabilitation, campaigns, advisory, reintegration and empowerment to provide viable alternatives for potential migrants, is the way out for Nigeria and other African countries. Joke Edsa, TVC News, Abuja.
Back to a bit of politics. The chairman of the National Councillors Forum, Plateau State Chapter, is calling for the immediate reinstatement, insisting that they have been duly elected as local government chairmen and councillors. They are seeking the intervention of President Bola Tinubu, the National Assembly, and international community to uphold the rule of law. A senior reporter, Habida Lawal, reports, and then we'll return with business updates. Stay with us.
The 1st of June 2024, Governor Caleb Mutfwang announced the suspension of the chairman of the local government councils and the councillors while their tenure is still running. In response, the 325 councillors across the state has urged the state governor to allow them complete their tenure as they were elected and not appointed. They believe the move is politically motivated, especially with the recent judgment on local government autonomy.
This is a clear case of executive lawlessness and a direct attack on the democratic system. We condemned Governor Mutfwang's action in the strongest terms possible and demand that he immediately complies with the Supreme Court judgment and reinstate the democratically elected chairman and their councillors.
In the aftermath of the 2023 general elections, the Court of Appeal sacked Governor Caleb Mutfwang and 23 federal and state legislatures in the state. The court ruled that the PDP was wrong not to have obeyed subsisting orders from a high court in Plateau State that asked the party to conduct a new Congress. However, the Supreme Court overturned the decision of the appeal court in the case of the governor, while the others whose cases stopped at the lower court lost their seats. To many people, the reason for their termination is more politically motivated, as they are not members of the People's Democratic Party. Habida Lawal, TVC News, Abuja.
And in business news, as the Central Bank of Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee meeting begins in Abuja for 2 days, industry watchers, economists and financial market experts are expecting the committee to maintain a benchmark interest rate at its current level. The meeting, chaired by the CBN Governor, Mr. Olayemi Cardoso, will hold today and tomorrow, and the outcome is scheduled for 2 p.m. Nigerian time on Tuesday. Speaking on our flagship program ahead of the resolution, Director Research and Strategy at Chapel Hill, Denham, Mr. Tajuddin Ibrahim, predicts on some probable hold of this interest rate.
Likely are going to see the Monetary Policy Committee of the CBN holding all the monetary policy parameters constant. And I reckon that, this is on the back of major considerations around interest, around inflation, for instance, and also, with the expectations around what the fiscal authority is going to do or has done so far in terms of policy response. And I think one key message that has to be added to that is that it is not like the Monetary Policy Authority are going to, start to, take a dovish stance. What I expect is that, they sort of slow down on the rate of hawkishness in terms of monetary policy. So most likely, we are going to see an uneventful monetary policy outcome, in the sense that most likely, they are going to leave interest rates unchanged.
And the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry has urged stakeholders in the building industry, public and civil society to collaborate and create an enabling environment that meets today's needs without compromising future generations. This call was made by the president of the chamber, Mr. Gabriel Idahosa, during a seminar put together by the construction and engineering group of the chambers. He said in collaboration with the real estate and financial services group in Lagos, the president emphasized the need for sustainable construction practices to help mitigate implications of rapid urbanization, increased population pressure, and effects of climate change in the country. He further advocates for green building and sustainable principles, stressing that the use of recycled materials and adoption of renewable energy, such as solar power, would reduce environmental degradation.
They are talking about how we can increase the performance of the built environment, how we can raise funding for infrastructure, for building of houses and roads, and how we can ensure that these structures are durable. And we see the end of collapse of buildings and bridges, and the roads that don't last after they are built.
For any construction, the first question you ask is, was this geotechnical or geotechnics information, was it properly conducted? There are places where you just do normal pad foundations and you go. There are some places you do rafts. There are some places you must do piles. So, but the point there is that, was there any of those processes undertaken?
The Nigerian Customs Service and the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency are stepping up their joint efforts to combat illicit drug trafficking across the country. In Lagos, the controller of the Federal Operations Unit Zone A, Kola Oladeji, handed over 6,488 kilograms of cannabis sativa to the NDLEA, marking a significant seizure in the ongoing battle against drug smuggling. TVC News senior business correspondent Ifunaya Eze reports.
During the handover, Controller Kola Oladeji emphasized the importance of interagency cooperation in addressing drug trafficking. He detailed how the 6,488 kilograms of cannabis sativa with a street value of 519,040,000 naira was intercepted, along with the arrest of 4 suspects now in custody.
We based our operation on intelligence gathering, and with the aid of high tech, with our profiling of risk analysis, these 3 combined factors really aided us in achieving this. It's not a day job. Even as I'm talking to you, we are still gathering intelligence more. Some of these drugs were intercepted along the express on the way to the east, some to the north. Some were intercepted within Lagos because, you see, the mode of distribution of drugs has changed. We too, we are changing with them.
Officials of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency applauded the collaboration, calling on the public to support law enforcement in the ongoing fight against drug abuse and illegal drug trade.
This is not the first time customs services has been seizing and handing over to the NDLEA, both here and elsewhere within Nigeria here. So this collaboration has been existing for a very long time. We appreciate it and we enjoy it. Because if you allow what I'm seeing at my back over here to be in circulation here in Nigeria, as it has multiplier effect on human and economy and whatever thing you may be thinking of, it should not go down well for this country.
The consignment and the suspects were officially handed over to officials of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency for further investigation. Both agencies reiterated the severe threat drug trafficking poses to individuals and society as a whole. Ifunanya Eze, TVC News, Lagos.
Banking stocks appear attractive to many fund managers as they move to replan portfolios. Let's join Effiong Gekop for detailed reports on markets. Global stocks firmed in Asia today ahead of a central bank meeting that are widely expected to deliver 2 more rate cuts and key U.S. inflation figures that should flash a green light for more easing there. China's central bank lowered its 14-day repo rate by 40 basis points a couple of days after disappointing markets by not quoting longer-term rates. Now, Euro Stock 50 futures added 0.5%, FTSE futures 0.3%, DAX futures 0.4%, and S&P 500 futures from 0.3%. Nasdaq futures added 0.6%. The S&P is up 1% so far in September, historically the weakest month for stocks, and has gained 19% year-to-date to reach an all-time high. Well, that's Business Next is Sports News. Thank you for watching. Good evening.